What's good with y'all? It's your boy AD, and to be honest, CD Projekt Red obviously must know what they're doing, because at this year's E3 they brought out John Wick himself, aka Keanu Reeves, to present their new gameplay trailer, while also revealing that he will be a part of the game as a digital ghost that stays in your cybernetic mind. Now, for those that don't know what Cyberpunk 2077 is about, the main story centers around a main character named V, which has an implanted chip that gives him immortality. So now everyone wants him dead so they can find out the secret to immortality for themselves. Also, this game is a role-playing game, which is RPG, developed by CD Projekt Red, published by CD Projekt. The release date is set for April 16th, 2020 on Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Now, getting back to Keanu, his collaboration with Cyberpunk 2077 was definitely unexpected, as when he came on the stage, a lot of fans stood up and cheered as they had no idea that he was going to be in the game, let alone one of the game's main characters. But the character that he plays in the game is called Johnny Silverhand, because he actually has a silver hand when you see him in the trailer. But lead quest designer Powell Sasko told GameSpot he's the front man of the Samurai Band. The Samurai Band is the one from Cyberpunk 2020, from the original source book. He was the guy who was extremely charismatic and very lively and loves life and goes in gun in hand. There were extremely bad things that happened to him in 2020. So getting back to V, the relationship between Johnny Silverhand and V is that the biochip embedded in the main character V's brain is apparently where Johnny Silverhand lives in, because he was killed in the firestorm in Cyberpunk 2020 source book, but now he just exists on the chip as a digital ghost. So you'll be introduced to Johnny Silverhand very early in the game, and the dynamic between your character and Johnny will depend on what decisions you make throughout the whole game, as he's gonna be with you in every step you take throughout your journey. Getting back to the lead quest designer, Sasko also said you can develop it through the whole game, talking about Johnny and V's relationship throughout the game. Now, also at the E3 press conference, CD Projekt showed a closed demo for a certain number of critics, and now that they've seen the demo, which was overall from all the critics' opinions really good, most of them gave us a description of the demo. So I'm gonna break down the best parts of the demo while also talking about what they described while watching the 58+ minute gameplay. But before we get into the demo, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and also share this video to help my channel grow. So the first thing we're going to start with getting to the demo will be the character creation. Now, mostly they were saying that there are tons of options to customize your character, and the best video game to compare these customizable options to will be the Mass Effect trilogy, because if you don't know, when you play Mass Effect, you get to change the main character to how you want him to look. So throughout every cutscene, every time you step out on the battlefield, the main character looks like you want him to look. Or you can go with the default character that they show on the main cover of the game of Cyberpunk 2077. But that's good to hear that the customizable options will be very detailed, because that's one of the main things you look forward to in an RPG game. Because for most people, you really want to play as yourself. So for customizable options to be in detail, like they said it was in the Cyberpunk 2077 demo, is definitely a plus. And Johnny Silverhand actually jokes after you finish creating your character, saying, "You really think they're going to care how you look?" So I guess they're going to have that little joking back and forth dynamic throughout the game. Also, another part of the demo is they explored the district of Pacifica that was packed with a lot of people in the church. So for me, this is telling me that the whole world of Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be packed, because like in GTA 5, how you can see a lot of people whenever you walk around, I think that's going to be like in CD Projekt's game, because for the most part, you don't want to have a long game that the world's not exciting, because then you're just going from checkpoint to checkpoint, not able to feel immersed in the world. So for Cyberpunk to go the extra mile into adding extra NPCs into the game is a plus in my opinion. And keep in mind, all of these details are from the demo, so the demo could change from the final version, because the actual game's not coming out to next year, and some demos may actually downgrade, or they may stay the same throughout the development process. So whatever I'm saying here could actually change when the final product comes out. And also another thing I'm wondering about is, if everything is as packed as I'm hearing it would be, then why not just wait till the next gen consoles to benefit off of those extra graphic cards, extra power with the Project Scarlet and PS5? The only reason that I would see that they wouldn't care about putting it on the next gen consoles is that this game has been in development for a long time. I mean, like in over 5 years, I believe. So for Cyberpunk 2077 not to be developed specifically for the next gen consoles makes sense, because they started ways back. So it's not like it'll be an easy fix just to upscale it and put on the new gen consoles. But you never know, it might come out with a version like that, or they may be put out this version and then 5 years later put out a remastered version on the next gen console. So you never know. Next thing they got into was the graphics. Now they said skyscrapers, Ferris wheels, and there will be a day and night cycle in the Cyberpunk 2077 world and more. What I mean by in more is they say that the buildings will feel larger than most other buildings in video games that people are used to seeing. So that kind of aligns with my expectations, because my expectations for Cyberpunk 2077 are pretty high, as the game is very much anticipated by most fans of CD Projekt. Enemies in this game are also called animals. Well, one of the enemy factions in this game are called animals, and you're doing a mission where you have to infiltrate them and learn about something by hacking into their database, which I guess in the Cyberpunk world is really a dangerous thing to do, because to plug into anything that's not yours will most likely get you killed, which is what the lead designers and developers of the game were saying. Now, another thing that really caught my eye in this description of the demo was dynamic dialogue, which can happen throughout the world and allows V to comment on these background events at times. I think this is a neat touch for just exploring the world, because if you know in GTA 5 when you're just driving around and something will happen, like the police is chasing the thief or the thief is holding somebody at gunpoint, you can either interject and do whatever you want. You can either help out the criminal or help out the police, or you could just leave it alone altogether and just keep on driving to your next destination. But for them to have dynamic dialogue in Cyberpunk, I think that's a very needed aspect to make the world more interesting. Now, getting into combat, it says stealth in this game is very detailed, as there's a perk tree that has 6 to 7 perks, and some of them being hacking, assassination, sniper rifles, engineering, and etc. So one of the ways you can attack this mission is stealth by hacking into camera systems, and there's a mini game that, depending on how you do, can unlock not only the camera but other network functions. So for them to have a mini game, hopefully it's easy, because if it's a puzzle, I don't really like games with a lot of puzzles. Like in Spider-Man PS4, all the puzzles I did, but in the second time I played it, I just skipped through all the puzzles because they're really just a waste of time if you've already went through them. So hopefully CD Projekt makes these puzzles interesting. Another thing you can use with stealth is stealth takedowns, which you can hack into a robot to punch an enemy unconscious while also using a soda machine that ejects cans at a high speed. One of the hacks that I thought was pretty funny was you could hack a bench press machine that collapses on its user, which person who saw the demo said that it was very violent when it happened. So that's one of the more fatal options you can use with your stealth. Now, getting into the aggressive playstyle you can use in this game. So from what they described, it switched over to another build of the main character where this guy was focused on being aggressive. So having the aggressive build lets you forcibly open doors without hacking. So that takes away the hacking aspect of it, but also lets you handle more things with just brute force. And throughout the demo, there was these things called Mantis Blades that came out, like Baraka Blades and MK11, and you can slice through people with ease. And the aggressive playstyle was really emphasizing on how you can go through the whole mission just killing everybody, and you can keep slicing even though they're dead. So I guess they have that. I keep comparing this to GTA, but there's a lot of comparisons when it's an open world and RPG type game. But you know how like whenever somebody's dead in GTA, you can keep going, and that's kind of how Cyberpunk is. But that's one of the more violent builds of V. And for me playing the game, I'm probably gonna be more of a stealth person or a hacking, because going through only using force can only go so far in my opinion. So I would rather take every scenario in stealth and hack away, so I can have the robots do the hard work for me. But another interesting thing that one of the developers said was you can go through the entire game without killing a single person. Now I don't know how true that is, but you know how you can hack in this game, so maybe they are talking about you don't have to kill anybody, but you can have other people kill for you. But to not have to kill anybody in the game, I don't know if that's actually gonna be a selling point. So I'll be interested to see what the outcome would be to not killing anybody in the game, because I believe certain cutscenes in the game call for certain actions, but we'll see when the game comes out. Now towards the end of the demo, they had this boss fight, which was against the ringleader of the animals, which was the enemy faction I talked about earlier in this video, who has a canister of strength enhancing gas, kind of like Bane, on her back. So throughout the game, you have to find a certain way to attack her back, because that's the weak spot throughout the boss fight. And then also throughout the fight, an enemy netrunner starts hacking you, so you have to either finish the fight quickly or lose control of your entire body. So I like that aspect of making the stakes higher and making it harder for you to complete the mission, because one thing that I was worried about was that they would have like generic boss fights where you just shoot them here and then win. But adding that touch that you have to complete the boss fight faster than you usually would, I think will add a sense of urgency and make it harder to complete the mission, which is what I'm looking for. Now, one of the last things that was talked about in this demo was location that you get to go to, because the main character V goes into a tub trying to find out more about his chip, because the chip gives him immortality and that's like the main point of the game from what they tell us. So you go to cyberspace to figure out more about your chip, and they say that that's the biggest scale they get in Cyberpunk 2077. I believe that cyberspace will be something that you'll be able to journey through a lot to try to learn more about your chip, and hopefully Johnny Silverhand will be able to tell you more about your chip since he somehow resides in it. So let me know what you think about this demo description, and also let me know if you're gonna get the Cyberpunk 2077 when it comes out next year, and is it a day one cop for you, or are you gonna wait for other people to play it to see how good it really is? Because it might just be all hype, but it might actually be the masterpiece that a lot of people are hyping it up to be. In my opinion, I think it's gonna be a really good game, and I can't wait to get my hands on it next year, as I did predict that this will have the best gameplay shown at E3. So even though it was behind closed doors to certain critics, I still believe that when it comes out, because CD Projekt Red is definitely going to put this out, but it's probably going to be later in this year. The game doesn't come out the next year, so there's really no need to rush something that could change in an instant. So yeah, that's it for the video. If you enjoyed this, make sure to let me know by hitting that like button and subscribe. And share this with your friend, neighbor, dog, or just send this to the person across the street like me, waiting for another RPG game on Mass Effect's level so they can put a lot of time into it, because without them, this wouldn't be possible. And with that, I'm out.